We should be live. I hope we're live. It looks like we're live. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the studio, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. If you're watching the replay, welcome. First off the bat, I sound a bit sick. That's because I still am. It's dragging on, y'all. It's really dragging on. But the show must go on, and we got some painting to do. Let me just, before that's going to become a problem, mute my microphone because I can hear it coming through the other way. Hang on. Excellent. Also, let me know if you don't mind, please, if you can see me and if you can hear me. That way I know that I'm not having any audio issues or tech issues, and we can get the show on the road. Now, where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay. And I'm going to X out of this one. Bam. Excellent. Excellent. Welcome. Wow, so good to see so many people here. I want to shout somebody out right now, and just say g'day to Chris Paints. Chris was asking, hey, with the Academy live streams, do we get to ask do we get to ask questions? Yes, you do, and you get to ask questions here. In fact, okay, so if you're new here, if you've never seen me before, if you've never watched me paint, if you've never seen any of my videos, then welcome. My name's Andrew. My last name's Tishler. You can call me Tish. And I love to paint. I absolutely love this stuff. I live, eat, sleep, breathe this stuff. I try not to eat too much paint, but, you know, I can't help it sometimes. It's just so good. So I'm here as an artist to paint to the best of my ability, but as a teacher to help you paint to the best of yours and expand those skills, expand that capacity, really tap into your full potential as an artist. And what I find is that so many of the artists that I teach are so much more capable than they think they are. There's little things that when you start to uncover these techniques, these approaches, you start to tap into a whole new world. This is the thing that excites me about painting, right? Is that the artist approaches the canvas, the blank canvas, and we got a monster blank canvas. But the artist approaches the canvas with a vision. And what it's about is getting all the technical stuff out of the way, the stuff that scares you, the stuff that confuses you, the stuff that you never learned. Get all that stuff out the way and let that vision come through. It's not woo-woo, all right? It's not a manifesting kind of thing. It's nothing like that. But it's like learning those skills. Get that technical side of things down so it almost becomes second nature so that your vision can really come through. So we've had a lot of people, shout out to all my Academy people. So awesome to see all of you here. We've had a lot of people come through the Academy and just keep sticking around because they just keep uncovering more and more and more of that technical stuff. So that's what I'm here to do. Again, you can call me Tish. Welcome to the studio. Shall we get into it? Let me show you what we're going to be working on today. Today I have it's too big for the friggin' camera, y'all. It's too big, but here it is. It's and I hope it's in focus. So y'all let me know. It looks pretty focused on my end. But a 36 by 48 canvas, vertical format. Now on this 36 by 48, I'm going to be painting this thing right here. Here we go. Now, some of my Academy folks will recognize this. This is a waterfall that kind of spills over from a place called Lake Marion in the South Island of New Zealand in Fiordland National Park. Beautiful area. Really, really stunning. And I've been looking at this waterfall for a few years, just thinking how I could do it justice. So I painted it, and then I painted it again. And now I'm going to paint it again. Third time lucky. Now, I do have somewhere the little 8x10 study that I did that I really detailed up, but my Academy folks will see that in the library there. There's a little waterfall painting demonstration there of this 8x10. But here, this piece, I thought, man, it's got some potential. And I went ahead and I did a little color study. And I did this just a few days ago. So the one that you can't see is the iteration that was just after I took this photograph, a little 8x10 painting. but I went ahead and did this one. So I'll show you this. Which way? There we go. And I came up with this little color study. Now, to give you an idea, it's a little too dark. Okay. To give you an idea, I'll adjust that, Danielle. Thanks for letting me know. I'll just kick the ISO. There we go. There we go. Thanks for letting me know. And just let me know if it's too light or too dark or whatever, and I'll adjust that. I'm assuming you're meaning the wide angle on the camera. Thank you. Okay, so one thing I did that changes this from the reference material, I just want you to have a look at that foreground. So you see the rocks there in the foreground? And then basically just moving them out of the way so we have space for a nice, clear, reflective, moving, just gorgeous, crystal clear water there in the foreground. We got all these boulders, and I think I prefer the water to all the boulders. So this is essentially what I'm going to be using. That reference and this color study to compose something on this giant blooming canvas. It's a little nuts, isn't it? I mean, it's a little bit nuts. Danielle, tell me, is that better? All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start putting up some paint on this canvas and just start slinging that paint. That's how we do. And I'm going to be talking to you in the live chat here. I'm going to be talking to you. But because this is such a big canvas, and normally I paint these, to block this in would take me a full day in the studio, and I'm only going to be with you for basically a couple of hours here. I think that's all we got. I am going to be carrying on with this tomorrow in the Academy live stream. If you want to see that, it's absolutely free tomorrow. All you got to do is click the subscribe button. So click the description below this live stream. If you're watching live right now, click that description, open up subscribe. So it'd be the second link that you see there in the description, and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already there. A little more light on the canvas. Okay, Danielle, you got it. Thank you so much. Let's have a look. Let me know if that's better. All right. Now, I do purposefully keep things a little bit darker in the studio, mind you. And the reason why is because I adjust and I mix colors a little bit brighter. But one thing I can do is turn up my, no, can I turn? No, my lights are already full bore. And by the way, so I'm coming to you now. You might be wondering, going, hang on, last time I saw you live, you were in that great big studio. What happened? I'm coming to you from my home. So we recently moved to Wanaka, and I'm coming to you from my home studio. I'm not in my big new studio yet. I know we're moving yet again. Everybody's down there at the moment, working away. I got the Sparkies down there today, hooking up all the electrics. So it's a big project. Anyway, the reference image. Yes, thank you, Paul Kelly. Let's go ahead and drag that in there, and I will be referring to it. Let me go ahead and drag it in, and I'll drag in the other one too. I just got to put the mic down to do this. Thank you for reminding me. And again, hey, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it so much. It's awesome to have your company. All right, let me just grab this. I should have been a little bit more organized. And by the way, if I just like rip into an epic coughing fit, I'll try and mute the microphone. It's this cough, it's just bloody relentless. All right. Oh, wrong one. That is not the reference. All right, Paul, and whoever else wants to see it, I'll go ahead and do that now. Just give me 1 minute. All right, sorry about that. I just needed to get that in there. Now we got it. So now you can see my reference, and hopefully you can see the painting. I'll go ahead and chuck this over here. That makes sense. But what I'm going to do, I'll make that a little smaller on the screen, and I'll see if I can chuck in my sketch too. Sorry, I'm clicking from across the room, but we'll get to it here in a second. There we go. Now that's my, now you can see both. You can see the color study and you can see the photo. Awesome. It does help having great reference material. Okay. Yeah, Lynn, I'm gonna have to mute it from time to time if I'm gonna cough. Okay, so what I take in the initial stages, I take a pretty simplified approach to color, and because I normally use quite a few tubes of paint, especially nowadays. I'm using a bunch of different colors, but I don't have every single one of them out for the block-in. The block-in is essentially just getting this to a point where I can see the big shapes, my darkest values, my lightest values, big areas of color, a hint at the depth and atmospheric perspective, a hint at the lighting dynamic, but that's pretty much it. So here, what have I got on my palette? Burnt umber, transparent red oxide, transparent yellow oxide. That will take care of my entire earth range. I got a mix of whites here, so all three of my whites. Flemish, Cremnitz, and titanium, and that was just recycled from my old palette. That's Flemish white. I'm going to use that for the block-in. What is Flemish? It's a mixture of basic lead carbonate and titanium. Beautiful white to use. Here I've got nickel yellow deep, again recycled from my older palette, but they might come in handy. I've got Hansa yellow, so that will form the base of a lot of my greens when I mix it with these blues. Then I've got some cadmium red light, permanent crimson. This replaces alizarin crimson for me. I love this color. Alizarin crimson, by the way, is not light fast. So if you want something that is more permanent and light fast, that crimson right there is beautiful. All made by Blue Ridge, by the way, Blue Ridge oil colors. And then we've got quinacridone magenta. We have ultramarine blue, cobalt blue. I'm using this color a lot at the moment because it's just so beautifully transparent. I'm really digging it. It's really helping me with some water effects too, but that's phthalo blue. Now this particular phthalo blue is a red shade. There is a green shade. So depending on what kind of dynamic I'm going for, whether it's a, slightly warmer painting or slightly cooler painting, but I'm enjoying this one. So I've got phthalo blue red shade, makes some really nice violets, cobalt teal, and phthalo green red shade as well. So that's my palette. I've got a little bit of liquid original here that'll help the block-in dry pretty dang quick. I'm going to mix up here just a little bit of burnt umber, and let's go ahead and grab some quinacridone magenta. Now you know how we do. I'm making a nice dark reddish brown color, and this is going to be my stick of charcoal that I'm going to use to draw in my composition. I know it's risky. What's the colors for the Imprimatura? Heidi, fantastic. Glad you asked. It's a little more sienna in this. It's certainly coming through a little bit more red, isn't it? But some sienna in here. And this is got a little bit of burnt umber in there as well. Now, I've got a sheet of cardboard just behind. You can see where that brace went when I applied the Imprimatura. Kind of collected on either side. But it's a nice flat surface. I do need to hammer in those keys in the back to stretch it out a little bit more. But I'm using a triple primed linen. And then I've gone over with an Imprimatura. The Imprimatura is just that first wash of color. I rub it back thoroughly. There's just a stain of color on there. It's totally dry by the time I start applying my... Yes, it is, Tamara. Thank you. By the time I start applying those first initial marks. I'm going to have to stand for this. I'm going to stand and paint today. I must be feeling better. A lot more energetic. Thank you again. By the way, if you haven't already, click the like button. Yeah, you haven't painted anything yet, dude. Okay. But you're going to like it, or at least I hope you tell me you like it, even if this is a dog turd of a painting. I hope you're going to, help me with my feelings here and my fragile ego and say, that's the best thing I've ever seen. Thank you so much. So I'm going to refer to but while I'm sketching up my composition, I'm going to refer to my dang color study. I'm looking at this here on my iPad, I'm not at my photograph. And so I have a few rules when I'm sketching up. We talk a bunch about composition on the Academy, and I have a bunch of rules that I adhere to. You click the like button, have you? I see some love hearts floating in the air there. Thank you so much. Now, some of those rules, there's about 5 main rules, but some of those rules are avoiding your center lines. So I'll sometimes make a little bit of an X through here, connecting the diagonals, like so. Horizontal center, vertical center, like that, okay? So avoid those center lines. So I can have something crossing it, but I just don't want to put the center of the mass, like a big boulder, right in the middle. Hopefully you can see this okay. This painting's too big for my studio. It's awkwardly big for the studio. But anyway, well, we will endure. I'm sure we can handle it. So that's a rule. Another rule is just don't put anything in the corner. Don't do it. When we put stuff in the corner, it kind of draws attention to the corner. And we don't want people looking there. We want people looking at the scene. So that's something that I try and stick to. Hello. I'm going to try and pronounce your name. Zlatovsky. Cheers from Slovakia. Hello, Zlatovsky Art. Nice to see you. Hello from Serbia. Dark Snail Photography. Hey, welcome. And good to see you, Lori. How are you? And Lot 222's here from the UK. Welcome. Now, by the way, if you have a question, I am here to answer questions. I'm going to be painting and trying to juggle all the tech and do all the things that we do here in the live streams. But if you got a question, I'd love to answer it. So just hit me up and either highlight my name. There's a way to do that. I don't know. I'm not techie at all. It's amazing I can do what I do. Trust me. I still marvel at pocket calculators. I do. I'm that old. But yeah, just help me out. Highlight my name, figure it out, or 3 capital Q's, QQQ. So what I'm doing now, it might look like a few little random scribbles, and it kind of is, but I'm following along my color study, and I'm marking up, and I'm pressing pretty light. Like I've loaded up the brush here. You can see I'm just picking up a little color. And I'm painting with a filbert, number 4. This is a rosemary coat. This is an evergreen long filbert. I find that it gives me a nice line. And I'm not being too careful, but just to help you see just a little bit better, what I'm going to do is just scribble in just like a little bit of a shading for a slightly darker value. So I got a rock there with a facet on it, a little face that's turned away from the light. Yeah, we got one here. Mix up a little bit more of that burnt umber. QQQ, don't the dried up paints on your palette annoy you? Why don't you clean it off? Says Fi. I'll tell you, honestly, Fi, they really annoy me. They really, really annoy me. And the reason I haven't cleaned it off, I've scraped it as clean as possible with my palette knife. It looks like a really textured surface, but it's not. It's pretty flat against the glass. It's because I snapped the handle off my razor blade that scrapes the paint off. True story. I just snapped the handle right off of there. So I would love to have that be a pristine sheet of glass and look all pretty on the live stream, but I can't do it, man. I can't do it. But you know what? We just move on. We just keep going. All right. Hello, Techno Dad. I know that's you, Rick. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Good to see you. For the beginner in oil painting, asks Cindy, what paints are recommended? Do you use the hog hair brushes? I think that's a great question, and that's a great start right there. Cindy, yes, I would recommend a pretty simplified approach. I'll tell you where I started when I first started oil painting. Just to get my head around the tonal dynamic and my head around color mixing, I really started simple. I had 3 colors: titanium white, burnt umber, and French ultramarine. That's where I started. Yeah, well, that's not a palette of colors. Well, think about it. Your umber and your ultramarine go together to make a near black, a grayish tone, and then you can lift your value or your tone by adding various amounts of white. That'll get you there. Yes, hog bristles are great. They push the paint. If you're working a little thinner, like I'm working right now, synthetics are great too. I don't want any texture in my marks right now, by the way. I don't want this drawing to come through with the next layers of paint. What I do want to come through, though, is this epic boulder that's up here. That's cool. That's a nice big shape. Now, sometimes what does help me a lot is if I do a complete digital workup of my compositions. I'll do that quite a lot. And by that, and no, I'm not sitting in front of AI texting my elaborate prompt and coming up with something, or allowing the machine to come up with something. No, it sometimes takes me weeks to design a painting, just drawing it layer by layer in Photoshop using a Wacom tablet. I still feel that process. It really does feel a lot like doing it by hand, but I love the old ways too. Just good old pencil and paper to design your composition. And also just sketching it up with oil paint, doing a little tiny oil painting. You could see my little tiny oil painting in the top left of the screen there. Okay. Ruthie wants to know, what's the difference between using ultramarine and burnt umber and burnt sienna? Well, you could use burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is a little hotter. It's a little bit more of a warm color, but you could totally use burnt sienna. I just prefer the umber. It just has a nice darkness to it. It's slightly colder, although it is very warm, but it's slightly colder than that burnt sienna. And I just find I have more use for it in other mixes. So that's why I use it. I used to use burnt sienna a bunch, but I tend not to use it now for the painting. Okay, I got a question here from Rhiannon. I've got an Alps pic. It is a grand view from the top of the Alps looking out at the valley of the Alps that surround it. No horizon line is present. The eye level is like a third from the top. Is that okay? Rhiannon, you're on the Academy, right? You're going to have to DM me that image, and let's talk through it. Now, by the way, on the Academy, you're that's the one place that I answer questions and directly one by one. You can imagine, I know it sounds lame, but you can imagine with so many different ways to get in touch with me now. There are messages and emails and all kinds of things and notifications coming in from everywhere. And I got to paint, y'all. And so the one place that I am accessible is on that Academy via the DMs. So my Academy folks that are here right now, shout out to my Academy folks. Welcome. There's a lot of you here. I can see you. I see you, Danielle. I see you, Heidi. I see you, Nikki. And Lori. That's awesome. So that's one place that you can reach me. So Rhiannon, if you are on the Academy, go ahead and send me an image of that, please, and let's talk. Now, I loved this painting when I did it smaller, and I just thought, man, a 36 by 48 would just be the bee's knees. That'd be just so much fun. I can't even fit it on the camera right now. I'm shooting this here tomorrow. Tamara keeps letting me know about the recording. I appreciate it. Otherwise, I'd get nothing recorded. But I can't even fit it on the studio cameras. It's too big. I got to move the rig back. All right, hey, Gary in the house. Hello, Kevin. How are you? Hello, Suzanne. Scott Holiday's here. Scott, man, I'm loving that white, bro. I'm loving that white. Scott, this I'm going to tell you right now, this is the best flake white in the world. Shout out to Scott. This is the best flake white in the world. Absolutely gorgeous. Loving it. Thank you, Scott. All right. Okay, Lynn, Andrew, did you say happy? No, I didn't. Happy birthday, Nikki. Happy birthday. Awesome. Well, I'm painting you a waterfall for your birthday here, Nikki. How about that? Let me put my mic down, and I'm just going to go ahead and adjust my cameras slightly. Bear with me. And just so I don't blow out your eardrums, I'm just going to mute my mic while I cough. Just hang on. Sorry about that. There we go. Feeling better. All right. If I miss your question, just go ahead and spam me. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. Have you recently moved? I have. I thought that you only just set up your new studio. I did. I was in there 11 months. New studio, new gallery. There's a video about it on my YouTube channel. You can watch it. The thumbnail says, was it worth it? And it's got a rather clickbaity title, but yeah, it'll tell you everything about what just happened. But I got a funny comment on one of these videos from somebody saying, you know, I think you just move so much because you like making studio reveal videos. And that might be true. Guilty. But regardless, if that's the reason, I will be making another studio reveal video. So yes, I did recently move. I live in Wanaka now. Yes, I am having an amazing time. So is my family, with the exception of new daycares and toddlers picking up stuff that is absolutely nuclear. Y'all with little kids know what I'm talking about. Like the devastation wave from those things that they pick up, it takes everybody out. Struth. So, not fun. But anyway, and that's why I sound a little bit more hoarse than normal. But apart from that, loving it. Wanaka's a beautiful place. If you've never heard of Wanaka, where is Wanaka? It's down at the bottom of the island, in the South Island in New Zealand. So there are 2 islands. Well, 3 islands if you 4 if you include Chatham Island. There's a bunch of islands in New Zealand, but mainly 2, north and south, right? So I live at the bottom of the South Island. It's a gorgeous area surrounded by mountains, snowy peaks, and just amazing scenes like the one we're going to be, we're working on right now. So I'm sketching up this composition. We better get a wiggle on. I'm just going to identify some basic shapes of where I've got some branches coming down, catching the light. And as you can see, there's nothing to it. Just sketch it up. Why sketch with a brush? You might be wondering, why are you sketching with a brush and not a bit of charcoal or a pencil? Why aren't you being a little more careful in drawing this, like really drawing this? Well, the drawing I'm going to do in paint, but I'm doing this right now with a brush because this helps me become a better painter by forcing myself into a situation where I'm going to do a fallen log across the stream there. That'll be fun. Everyone will enjoy that right there. Because I'm forcing myself into a situation where I have to draw with that brush, it forces me to make bigger marks, bigger gestures. It forces me to flow and be a little freer. It gets me away from the canvas. I'm standing out here. I don't know. Can you see that little screen there? Let me adjust my other camera up so you're not just looking at my stomach. Hang on a second. Yeah, no, I haven't been working out. But there we go. So it forces me where I have to stand back. You see that little picture of me down there? I'm like literally at arm's length, holding it at the back 2/3 of my brush, like so, not right up on it like this. Ain't nobody got time for that. Who's got time for that? You got time for that? So getting away from it actually really helps. Just flow, man. Be like the waterfall and flow. So I gave you two things that I try to avoid when it comes to composing a painting. Let me give you the other ones. Whenever we're creating a picture, you're creating these lines of force, these lines of sight, these lines that your eye travels along. You're directing the viewer. Whether you're doing it intentionally or not, it is happening. We're creating vectors in our composition. And our eyesight, our attention flows along these lines called vectors. So one thing I try not to do is have any line that kicks the viewer off the edge of the canvas, or line up things where our eye travels along them like this. So I try to break the line somehow and clip it before it exits. So we'll put in a big rock right there, clip that edge, redirect the viewer. So that's another no-no, is having an exiting vector, I call it. So we don't put anything in dead center because it kills the composition, hence dead center. We don't chuck anything in the corner. We don't have any exiting vectors. Now the next one's a little bit tricky because it takes design and it takes a little bit of foresight to think your way through it and make sure you're not putting in TMI, too much information. Nowadays, I'm trying to get my paintings as simple as possible, but you know me, if you've been looking at my work, and chances are if you're here, you've kind of maybe looked at my website, my portfolio, seen some various things I do. I chuck everything in there in the kitchen sink. It's got too much going on, too dang much. And so what do? Well, in my design process as I'm composing, I try and boil it down until I get to some core simple elements. Like, what is this painting really all about? Because putting in too much information, it can kill a painting. You can really confuse your viewer. Like, where are we looking? What's the story here? What's this all about? So I try to balance 2 or 3 main focal points. Yes, there's going to be stuff going on throughout and details, but I want your eye to just go bam right there to the waterfall, this main cascade. And so when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, there's no question in my mind what this painting's about. It's about that. There it is. All right, QQQ. Can I use liquid original and impasto at the same time during the painting? I do all the time, Marcus. Absolutely. Or does it have negative impact? Not at all. Not at all. Play with it. In fact, I've been playing with another one, which is probably a new one for a lot of my Academy folks. But I used this back in the day and hated it. But now I'm starting to find out how to actually really use it. And it's liquid oleopasto. Now this one it's sticky. It feels like creamed honey. It's not buttery at all. There it is right there. There's the tube right there. So it's very different to the liquid impasto, but I'm finding that it creates this ropey type texture in the paint, and you can pull that texture. It's really interesting. Bought a tube of burnt umber, says Sherry, and I had changed the brand. The burnt umber is more like sienna than burnt umber. So go back to my original question. Do different brands have different pigmentation? Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely. So true story. When I first started using Blue Ridge, I made the switch several years ago. Glad I did too, by the way. But I started using this burnt umber, and I'm like, dude, this is so close to burnt sienna. Have you got anything else? And he was like, well, I could formulate something for you. I'm like, you would do that? He's like, yeah, totally. I'd totally do that. I'm like, okay. So Eric Silver's his name. Good guy, based in North Carolina. So Eric was saying, okay, well, let me come up with some options and send you some tests. And I when I say together, it sounds like I'm taking credit. It was him. It was all him. But we came up with this burnt umber deep is what I use. And this is made in North Carolina by Eric Silver, Blue Ridge Oil Paint. So again, visit blueridgeoilpaint.com. Love using those paints. Love working with Eric. Awesome dude. Great paint. So yes, some of those colors are going to be very, very similar. And so you just want to kind of find the right balance. It doesn't mean you have to use one brand, right? I mean, it just so happens that that's all I'm using here. I mean, I love this stuff, but you know, I know a lot of, very rarely will I come across an artist that uses just one brand. You know, they'll get a little bit of something from here, a little bit of something from there, a little bit of Rublev, a little bit of Old Holland, a little bit of Gamblin here, a little bit of Williamsburg there. And there's some great makers out there of paint. There's some great stuff. The only requirement I have when it comes to paint is that when it's that high pigment loading, and that there's just, whenever I pick up a tube, there's just one color in that tube. So I'm not going to be making like using blends. For the most part, there are a couple of blends that I do use from time to time. Like if I'm painting a crashing wave, I do like me some phthalo turquoise, a mix of phthalo green and phthalo blue. Of course, I could totally mix that on the palette, but I like picking up the phthalo turquoise because I call it a convenience color. Because why? Because it's convenient. Relax. It's all right. All right. What color shall I paint my new studio? Noah, dude. I don't know. I'm a big fan of cadmium red light. I do it. I go for it, man. Live large. No, I think this is a really important question. Having just painted my new studio, I find white, like the walls in here, to be, you know, a little bit lacking. I prefer a darker studio that will cut down on reflected light. So in the last studio, I went a dark gray. By the way, I'm just drawing. I'm probably gonna keep drawing for another 5-10 minutes just to get the composition down here. Is that okay with you? Is that okay? You're like, he's not painting very fast. I know. I'm not like one of those stage painters that I saw this guy yesterday doing you see the upside down thing, and they do it with their hands, and then they flip it around like, oh, it's Superman. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool, but I'm not that type of artist. This painting is probably going to take me 400 hours. And no, we're not going to live stream all of it. Although very soon, they're actually, I'm going to give you a heads up, and I'm going to do it here publicly on YouTube. We are going to start live streaming pretty much every minute of studio painting time. So you'll be able to tune into the website, and we'll be running that probably on YouTube and Twitch, and maybe even on TikTok. But we are going to be live streaming studio painting time. There won't be any talking. It's just you'll be able to tune in and say, "Oh, what's going on the Tish cam?" That's ridiculous, isn't it? But that should be fun. Anyway, Noah's question: painting the studio. So I went a dark charcoal gray. It was called Rhino in the last studio, and I really liked that one. But this time, I wanted my studio, and you're gonna see this. My Academy folks are gonna see this. The last studio, I really this one that we're making now, I was thinking I really want to go a different vibe, and I started looking at some images, and I was like, no, I want to go like with that cigar lounge type look. That would be cool, like wood paneling. That'd be neat. So we did it cheaply with a whole bunch of plywood and just paneled the walls with plywood, and then I did a nice dark oak stain on those plywood walls. And I tell you what, the painters have finished with the space. It looks epic, absolutely epic. So it's going to cut down on that reflected light, but it's also going to just feel a little bit richer and warmer when you're in that space. How's it going to affect the paintings? Don't know yet, but it looks cool. It looks really cool. Ashley, the podcast is coming back. It's coming back. Thanks so much, by the way. Appreciate that. I didn't mean to quit on you, but it is coming back. All right. Studio color question is interesting, but with a window or without? Hey, B. Jones. Yeah, look, sometimes you get windows. I was blessed in the last studio to have south-facing light. Now, you might be thinking, if you're in the northern hemisphere, going, well, hang on a second, don't you want north-facing light? Yes, north in the north, south in the south. So you want open ambient skylight coming into your studio. And with that open ambient skylight, it's just casting an even glow for the most part. Sometimes you can get sunlight bouncing off a cloud, and it can be annoying, and it can be really, really on the nose, and cause a glare in your studio. But south-facing light was the way to go, and I loved it. It was great. Trouble is with this new studio, loads of windows, glass windows across the front. So we've got the gallery and the studio. Huge glass windows across the front, but I needed a way to control the light in the studio. So I've actually got no windows whatsoever in my studio, and we are going to be lighting it entirely with artificial light. I'm probably going to go incredibly pale, but I'm going to get outside on the regular with a cup of coffee and sit in the sunshine. What's with the crowns? Asked Susan Brown. I think those are from my top G's, y'all. There's some the people that comment the most, I think. Over 500 people watching. That's amazing. Thank you for letting me know that, Lori. I try not to check the metrics. I'm not a metrics guy. If you're new here, if you're watching, hey, welcome to the studio. My name's Tish. I'm painting a waterfall. Check out some of my other videos if you're new to my channel, and you'll see a little bit more of a compressed process. But here you're getting a glimpse at how the composition starts. You're here at the genesis of this painting. This is a special moment we're having here. Not many people get to see this unless you're on my academy, and then you get to see this whole stinking process, the whole thing, from the start to the finish. In full HD, every part of the process broken down for you in a simple, digestible way, easy to understand, so you can apply these techniques from the comfort of your own home. Oh my goodness, isn't it disgusting? He's a walking infomercial. Speaking of that, right now, I just want to show you something. Let me X out of this for a second, X out of that for a second, and go over to this screen, not that screen, this screen. There we go. Hang on a second. Where's my desktop gone? Oh, come back, you. It's live. There we go. That's the screen I'm after. Thank you for your patience with me. I'm flying solo. Normally I have two hands. I'm holding the microphone and the brush. I'm probably going to paint and talk like this. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, hey, check it out. Click that top link in the description if you want to elevate your art, but only if you want to take your painting further. Go to tish.academy. So let me tell you, the thing that I do, and this is my jam. I'm sure it's going to be yours too, but shout out to all my academy people here in the studio. But what we have, what is Tish Academy? Tish Academy is an online art school. If you want to take your painting further, then you got to check this out. So come to the homepage, and what is Tish Academy? What's on Tish Academy? Long feature-length demonstrations. You can try it for 7 days for free and figure out what it's all about. Now, it's got a whole bunch of different levels of content on there. If you're a beginner, I've got you. There's some beginner stuff on there. Take the oil painting fundamentals course. And we also have a lot of beginner content on the way. There's a lot of intermediate and advanced stuff on there, but there's much more beginner content on the way as well. And hey, for my intermediate and advanced, and even some of my professional artists that are watching this right now, try some of these beginner demonstrations. They'll inform the beginner, but they'll really stretch the pros. Let me tell you, it's going to be fun. All right. The best part of it is the community. So we're blessed. We've got an amazing, active, supportive community. And I'm just blown away by how they They pour into each other. They're lifting each other up. They're helping each other. They're critiquing each other. It's just awesome. We got a great bunch of people. For all my Academy people watching right now, Danielle, Lori, Gary, Antje, Shell, can hit us up in the comments right now on YouTube. Let people know what kind of time you're having over there on the Academy. And you can read a few testimonials. There's sketching sessions. There's plein air sessions. There's the exclusive video version of the podcast. There you go, Ashley. There's critiques. I'm telling you what, we're about to upload a whole new series of critiques. And then every week, if you like watching live and getting your questions answered live, you can watch me every week live on the Academy for my Academy VIP tier. Tomorrow, we're going to be going live for 3 hours in the studio, and that's for my Academy VIP. Tish Academy is really great, says Ashley. I just bought his DVDs instead. Awesome. Yeah, we got DVDs as well over on the website, but we haven't produced DVDs for a long while. But the community is a place for us to have extended discussions and share information. Love it, says Lori. Thank you. What Andrew says is true, says Sue. The content is amazing, and you will stay for the interaction with the other members. Absolutely. No, it's a beautiful community, isn't it? Shell Wilkes says, oh man, Academy is far out, bitchin' and cool. Awesome. Thank you, Shell. Appreciate you. All right. Love the critiques. Learned so much. So check it out. Go to tish.academy. If you don't know me, you can read a little bit about me there. There's the 2 tiers. You've got $15 a month for the studio tier, the very basic tier, $25 for the full Academy VIP experience. Highly recommend it. And it also comes with 30-day money-back guarantee. So check it out. Watch the little video there at the top, and it will tell you what it's all about. Okay, that's enough for that little plug. Thank you for allowing that little brief interruption. Appreciate it. Let me adjust my camera here so you can see a little bit of sketching going on down here, and we'll get the show on the road. I'm gonna have to paint. I'm gonna have to paint here on my knees. I'm like literally on the mat on my knees here. There we go. Okay, Academy's the best. Learning so much, says Romy. Thank you, Romy. VIP was the best investment I've ever made for myself, says Suzanne. Thank you, Suzanne. Awesome. Hey, shout out. Shout out. Let me get my palette cam back here. So my function in life, my purpose, if I may just share this with you, my Academy folks have really helped me identify exactly what that is. It's being here to help other artists. I think if you're new to the Academy or if you're thinking about joining, there's something that I found about artists in general when I was starting out. Most of the time, people are cool. Most of the time. But sometimes you come across those painters that are just freaking amazing at what they do. And you're just really wanting to know, how do they do what they do? And they're a closed book. They're not going to tell you. They got secrets. Now, I'm not saying I'm one of those amazing painters, all right? If other people want to say that, that's amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it. But what I am saying is I decided if I ever figure this out, I'm going to share everything that I know about this and leave no stone unturned. Speaking of stones, got some stones here in the water. We're going to turn over every single one of them, figure out what's underneath. I want to unlock the how. When I look at an old master's painting, I want to know, how did they friggin' do that, dude? How did they do it? How do they get a sense of form, depth, light, and material in every single one of their paintings? How do they compose it in such a way where I can drop this feeling or this knowing that I'm looking at a painting and I'm starting to have an experience. How? How Themistocles von Eckenbrecher? How Anders Askewald? How Albert Bierstadt? How? I am not putting myself in the camp with the great. Don't get it twisted. But I figured out a thing or two, and that's what I love to share. So if you like the way I paint, then, and you want to find out how to do it, then check it out. Okay, plug time over. We'll get back to Wake. Back to Warwick. Thank you, Gary. Oh, I'm glad, Gary. Gary says the Academy's helped me more than I ever imagined. Well, I can't. I'm just going to read it. You guys are shouting me out now. That's awesome. Okay, we got most of this composition sketched up. I pretty much know what's going on now. I can see it. I'm following along with my initial color study. Let's get that back up on the board. There we go. There we go. A little bit of a scattering of rocks here. Open water here in the foreground coming all the way to the viewer. When you're looking at this painting, I want you to feel like your toes are wet. Some beautiful foam here separating before it spills over the edge. And then a little bit of a churning of foam right there. Beautiful. Okay, got it. Now, let's mix up some color and start putting in the first layer of color. You've been very patient with me while I sketch this in. I appreciate it. I'm going to be continuing with this painting in tomorrow's live stream over on the Academy. Click that link and join. But you got to join that Academy VIP tier and find out what it's all about. All right, I'm going to put my mic down, get a drink of water, and adjust these cameras again, and we'll start painting some color in the background. Hang on. By the way, if you haven't clicked that like button already, please do that for me. Helps the algorithms, or it helps us get around the algorithms. And let's people see this. More people see this. Can I twist that a little bit? There we go. Much better. Thank you, Bob. Good to see you again. Will do, Bob. Thank you. Did I miss a question? The podcast on the Academy is something that will blow your mind, says Terralina. Learning business and how other painters set up their business is the best of the best. Thank you, Terralina. Appreciate it. All right. Now, I'm going to start painting in the background, and we're going to start to bring this forward. Ordinarily, that's where I like to start when I'm painting the studio. Now, the depth here is kind of interesting. We've more or less got a foreground and a midground, and there's not a lot of depth in the scene. This cascade just kind of emerges from the forest here. I do want to punch a little bit of depth up here into these trees, but for the most part, I just see a dark shape. Start off with a little bit of my pre-mixed white there, my recycled white. I'm starting there because I want this to be a little bit lighter. Even though it's going to be dark, I want it to be a little bit lighter relatively than whatever values I put in the foreground. And I also want it to have just a touch of violet in there. So it's not black. It's not blue. It's not green of the forest, but it's like this kind of dark, deep violet. And I'm just going to start there. And I'm going to be able to, once this is dry, work back into this color later in the process. But it's a place to start. Now, when I'm blocking in colors, when I'm thinking about color in a landscape painting, I'm thinking about an overall dynamic. When I say dynamic, what I mean is relationship between colors. Now, our color wheel is something that I'm going to be referring to a bunch, because when I'm painting, I'm thinking all the time about how one color relates to another. And the color wheel is like a graphic representation of the relationships between colors. And I think a lot about these relationships called complementary opposites. Now, opposites are whatever sits opposite one another on the color wheel. So let's say our red-green, if you imagine in your mind's eye the color wheel. Red-green, orange-blue, yellow-violet, right? So here I got a violet coming through in the background, scrubbing that paint into there. And that violet is going to react really nicely with what kind of light? Well, I just told you before, for you playing the home game and paying attention here, yellow or gold. A beautiful warm golden light will work really well with deep violet shadows. And so that's exactly the kind of sunlight that I want to have coming pouring into this scene. Now I'll get some indication of that, some hint of that here in my initial block-in. I'm leaving little spaces void, by the way, for some of that golden lit foliage. We put a little bit of that in there now. Why not? Come on, we're here. Let's do it. Now, by the way, this is one of my favorite parts of the process, is the block-in, because it's the most immediate part of the process. It's like a shot from the hip. You get to see something straight away. You're like, man, bang, there it is. Now, I went for that Hansa yellow from my Academy members. Did you hear it? As soon as I went for that Hansa, they're like, oh, no, what's he doing? I know. I too like to live dangerously. I like to say my color best for last and my tonal best for last, but still, here in the block-in, we get a little bit of saturated color. I'll go ahead and start painting that in where that tree is going to go. I'm working the paint into the canvas. This is the first layer of paint. Don't get too precious. I'm glad you're here for this, because I got a lot of painters that watch me, and they're like, oh, they tighten up. They're expecting it to be controlled and resolved and detailed right off the bat. Doesn't work like that. Just going to adjust my camera here, give you a little bit of a better glimpse as to what's happening. Hopefully that's a little better. Can you see that okay? Is that coming through okay? Is it focused? Yeah. Cool. Is it easier to do the details with board or stretched canvas? Doesn't matter, Libby. Either way. Now, I tend to change what I'm working on depending on scale. So big paintings I like to stretch around a stretcher. Little paintings I have on a rigid board. And that's just purely because of the convenience of shipping. It's far easier to ship a rolled canvas than it is something at this size, stretched to a board or stuck down to a board, because that just makes the size of the crate absolutely massive. But I ship these internationally in a plumbing tube, in a PVC tube. It's wrapped with bubble wrap around a cardboard core, very well wrapped, got some glassine paper on there, and that gets shipped internationally in a big plumbing tube, and it's crush resistant. It's very rigid and safe way to transport paintings. I used to take them on the airplane and check them in. That's how confident I felt about the packaging. You've seen how rough the airlines are with our luggage when we're flying, and I'd fly with these paintings rolled up in shipping tubes. So just a little bit of an indication. I'm not going to go too far with the background, but I'm going to start bringing this color down. And as I bring it down, I might get progressively darker. Here we got a little bit of ultramarine blue and burnt umber here. Lovely stuff. Focus, yeah. Tamara, is that focused? Because this is a very blurry technique. So let me know. Let me know if the brush is in focus. Because I'm keeping my edges soft. I will come back and find those edges later and sharpen them up. QQQ. When I am painting and photography with my 14 max show colors more intense when I'm looking at them. Why when I am painting? Frank, you're going to have to re-ask that question. I'm sorry, I don't understand. I want to understand that. Yeah, Sarah, that was me that sent that out. You're correct, Sarah Churchill. Yep, that was me, and I will talk about it in tomorrow's live stream. Okay, I'll talk about it in tomorrow's live stream. Yeah, it's not out of focus. Great, great. Whole canvas? Yeah, no, okay. Right, what size brush are we using? Thank you. I'm using a number 8. This is a dagger. It's an older brush. That's an older dagger brush. This is a Rosemary & Co. 1/2 inch. So they're both around 1/2 to 5/8. Greetings from Germany. Hello, Space Jumper. Are you really a space jumper? I doubt that very much. But welcome. Glad you jumped into the live stream. Nice work as usual. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, M. Harrison. How would you attack this subject differently if it was plein air? Well, plein air, my approach would be, great question. Thank you. My approach would be tonal. I would lock in my light dynamic first. And I would start working with my shadows first and then working my way forward. But seeing as this is here in the studio, I feel pretty confident that my light's not going to shift on me. All right. And so I just start with whatever's furthest away, work my way forward. And gradually turn up the volume on my tonal dynamic, my colors, the value arrangement, all that good stuff. I'm going to work my way down now, just brush in some forms of some rocks here around our cascade. The thing I really like after the block in is that next modeling stage where I'm basically just going form by form and teasing out the intricacies of the surface. This happens right before the detail. It's another layer of complexity, but it gives me a really good idea of how does that rock sit in deep space? Reflected light, direct light, maybe a bit of dappled light on there. Why not? But right now, it's the big shapes. It's the big forms. So it's almost like, speaking of focus tomorrow, it's almost like focusing a camera. We start off kind of out of focus, really blurry, the big stuff. And then as the painting progresses, you twist that focal ring and it starts tightening and tightening and tightening. All right. The canvas and the brush are slightly out of focus. Everything else is sharp. Okay, Rhiannon, the camera's going to go down for a second. Just give me 1 second. And I will sharpen that up. Is that better? Let me know if that's coming through a little bit better. Sorry about that. All right, Danielle, let me know if that's better. Yep. Okay, Tamara, let me know. Hello, Ash Kennedy. How are you? Good to see you. All right, we're a little over an hour down. About halfway through the stream. It's a monstrous canvas that we're working on today. This is a 36 by 48. Just going to rest my arm because my bicep's starting to lock up from holding this microphone. Shake it out. Shake it out. All right. Thank you, Rhiannon. Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. Awesome. Hello from Malaysia. Hello, Azro. Good to see you. Not at all, Shell Wilk. It's not a foolish endeavor. Just get into it. Sort of better. Okay, cool. When will you be in Italy? I have no plans right now, Albert. I'm going to France next year, not Italy. Okay. I don't know how you do it, but your paintings don't have an ugly stage. Thank you, Matthew. I'm calling this the ugly stage. Can we agree, sir? I do have an ugly stage. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Matthew, but I do, and this is it. Just like my face first thing in the morning. That's an ugly stage. All right, a brand new. There's nothing. I tell you what true love is. A brand new Tish Dagger brush. I know. The product placement in this live stream is relentless. Isn't it disgusting? But I can't help it. I love me a Rosemary & Co. brush. So I'm mixing up a little bit of a lighter blue color. And I'm noticing that in my reference material, the color that's coming through on that waterfall in the shade here in the forest, the deep forest, as that cascade starts tumbling down these boulders, it's reflecting a little bit of that ambient sky. And so it's glowing this electric blue. Now, I might be overdoing that slightly. In some places, I think we could afford to make it a little grayer. Let's do that. Let's tone it down. Now, Matthew, you raise an interesting point there about the ugly stage, right? Let me riff on that for a second, because one of the things that I found when I was first starting was this unbelievable frustration in the beginning of the painting process. I was in such a rush to get there. I had to get to the place where it felt resolved immediately. And I'd really just panic. I would sweat it. I'd just be like, why isn't it there? I'd get so angry. I'd get like absolutely distraught. And then I came to realize that it's a process. It's a process. You have to trust the process. So I started just kind of, sucking it up, wading in, and just going slowly, methodically, building it up layer by layer and telling myself that, okay, it doesn't matter how bad the first stage looks. If I paid attention to my materials and my layering, I can always paint over it. I can always keep layering and just see if I can layer upon layer upon layer and build this thing up. Don't get me wrong. I love me some direct painting techniques. One layer, alla prima. It's great. But I often don't paint like that unless I'm painting plein air or something like that. So often it's a layered approach. You can always continue to layer over it. All right. Hey, Kathleen, I'm looking at you right now, Kathleen. You have got to bust open that pack of Rosemary & Co. Do you understand me? You've got to. Don't just sit there and look at them. Break out that package and start using them. Start using them. You're not going to ruin them. Check out the Oil Painting Fundamentals course. There's a little section in there on how to clean your brushes. Now, some of these brushes, they last me years and years and years. I have a rule that I never throw a brush away. You ought to see some of the fuglies that I paint with. They are, they be sitting there in the vase looking at me going, kill me. But no, I refuse. You're just going to keep hanging on because the uglier you get, the weirder the mark you're going to make, and it's going to be cool. And so I got trimmed fan brushes, worn out dagger brushes, split synthetic pointed rounds, things that are just down to one hair. Hey, we can get a little weird with it. Why not? Okay. A little bit of violet. It's a little touch green for my liking. So we got some blues and some violets showing through. I might adjust my camera down slightly, and we're going to start to add some color here to these boulders. I think I might leave the water in the foreground down lower for tomorrow's live stream with my Academy VIP. Hey, click the link in the description below to check out the Academy VIP tier. I'm going to make it available to all my subscribers to my email list. So you'll find the second link in the description down below. If you want to click on that, if you're not ready to make the commitment and jump in, even though you get a 7-day free trial, it's all good. Just click that link there to subscribe to my mailing list. That's absolutely free. And I will email you a direct link to watch tomorrow's live stream as well, where we're going to be continuing with this painting. It's too big. Goodness me. Okay, I'm changing it to continuous autofocus. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put that camera on autofocus, and then that way, hopefully, it doesn't snap to my hand. It keeps looking at the painting. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know if that's gonna be any better. I had some of my Rosemary & Co. ivory brushes for 12 years, says Lori. Fantastic. Yeah, they're good. Those ivories are the next level, right? Okay. RE Brush Care, my metal parts, the ferrules. What's wrong with the ferrules, Nikki? Are they feral? Ha. QQQ on the ferrules of my brushes are horribly sticky after cleaning and leaving them to dry. The metal parts, not sure why. Any ideas? It sounds like you're not getting off all the medium or whatever you're mixing with the paint there, Nikki. So you want to make sure that you're using a solvent that's going to cut through that. I don't get any stickiness at all on my ferrules. And so, yeah, I'm using Gamsol, by the way. And the Gamsol, I find, really cuts through all those oils. All that stuff. So have a look. Okay, I identified a dark plane here of this rock. And so I'm going to start working in a little bit of darker tone, a bit of ultramarine blue, a bit of burnt umber. It's very thin paint, very thin. Why thin? Why keep it thin in the block end? I do want some really heavy, chunky, offensive. I mean, like it's a shocking amount, like cake decoration, icing, troweled on with the spatula type impasto texture. But not right now. Now ain't the time. Why? Well, because even though I've got a compositional design, I've painted this twice before. I've got a color study I'm looking to right here. Basically, I might decide that I'm going to move this, that, or the other. I'm going to shift something around, left, right, up, or down. I don't know. We might get crazy with it. I might decide to kill this boulder and have one stripe of waterfall throughout. I kind of like the boulder, the way it restricts the flow and causes our eye to go over there. I like that. But maybe I decide that this boulder and this boulder and this boulder are too much of a 1, 2, and a 3. and they're too similar, and I might want to go, well, I'm going to break that one in half. If I have texture, the ghost of the underlying marks will always show through, and it's difficult to overcome that texture. Now, you could sand it down and scrape it back, but who really wants to do that? You could risk putting a hole in your canvas or getting some lead dust up your nostrils. So I prefer to keep it really thin in this stage. It helps with painting over it. All right. I got about 45 minutes left of this live stream. Thanks so much for hanging in here with me. If you're enjoying it so far, if you've got even just one little tip, one little trick, one little technique, whatever it is, just one, click that dang like button for me, would you please? Come on. Help a painter out. Click the like button. It'll help more people see this. Share it to your social media as well. Appreciate that. I'm looking forward to painting this again tomorrow. I got a big, beautiful, ornate frame that I'm going to be putting this in. I'm excited about that. Speaking of offensive, my frames seem to be quite divisive. I like to frame as if this was painted a couple of 100 years ago. Do you ever feel like you were born a little bit too late? I think 1850 was my year. But maybe there's a reason I'm here now. I don't know. Still trying to work it out. But I think 1850 was my jam. Maybe 1835, maybe 1879. I don't know. But somewhere in there, right? And I would have framed my work with big, ornate Victorian frames when they were cheap. Because now they're bloody expensive. But I love it. I love the ornate stuff. I love the decoration and the ornamentation. I love things that are just beautiful for beauty's sake, with no functionality whatsoever, just ornamentation. Get into it. Where do you find your old frame? Antique shops? Yeah, hey, Virginia, spot on. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I find old frames. Sometimes I got paintings in them, and I'm like, I can't take the painting out of that frame. It's kind of, they go together, and I just collect them. Sometimes I make them, like I fake my own antiques. That is my Frankenframe video over on the Academy. I just made a framing video on the Academy. I'll show you how I do that. But now, I'll tell you what, I found somebody based here in Wanaka. It's nuts. Somebody based here in Wanaka that does handmade ornate frames. It's mental. She's an absolute master at this. Shout out. Her name's also Rachel. My wife's name's Rachel, but her name's also Rachel. And she is I'm telling you what, a master craftsman. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the frames that she's making. And she just told me yesterday that she would totally be open to making a video, and I'll share it with my Academy folks, on how she does this. But it's the proper techniques from hundreds of years ago. The proper stuff, like using compo, comprised of like whiting and rosin, and the different layers of bowl and gesso, and all that stuff. So and a traditional hand laid water gilding. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was a fun. Hey, B Jones, it's a fun video. It's a fun project when you're making them yourself. It's a fun project, and I like that DIY stuff. But I like to frame my stuff. By the way, I'm just going to mix up a little bit of lighter color here. We got some burnt umber, and a little bit of Flemish white. Let's go a little bit of transparent yellow oxide, transparent red oxide. Just make it a lighter, warmer gray. For our rocks, touch of liquid original, just to improve that flow. Let's get that in there. Yeah, what are the odds, eh, Ash? I mean, and I found that since I moved, that's just happening repeatedly. So value is kind of important, right? It's important. You can see where I've mixed that on the palette and where I'm applying it right now on that rock. And all I want is a tone that is kind of a mid-tone. I'm going to have some lighter grays in there to indicate a little bit of a stronger sunlight. Some darker grays to indicate the turn in the form. But I'm just going for that kind of middle base value for the block end. So what this does is it informs me in that next part of the process. Okay, obviously, this part is catching the light, or some of it, because I'm going to have this dappled light dynamic coming through. And this area here is in the shadow. Could we emphasize that, though? Oh, you bet. You bet. So in a couple of these spots, we can go even darker. Phthalo green, beautiful. Permanent crimson makes a near black. Add a little bit of this phthalo blue just for a bit of coordination. And right here on that lead edge, we can break away a facet. And as we apply a bit more paint, still thin with our synthetic, but we get a little bit more of a solid stroke. And I can see exactly where that shadow is going to go and how that rock has got a face turning away from me. The other thing that I kind of like is how it corresponds with the way this water is spilling over the edge here. That's kind of neat. Now there's a algae, tannin, spongy, gungy, slimy type stuff growing to the edges of our rocks that is getting absolutely doused on the daily by this waterfall spilling over the edge. And so, and it's also the raw mineral color of that rock. So transparent red oxide, transparent yellow oxide there. Good fun. Work back into that a little bit of lighter gray, give that rock a little dimension. Make sure it just brush across my edge slightly to tamp down any of those ridge lines. Boom, stick a fork in it. That rock's done. Let's move on. And you can see, it's just quick. We're moving quick. Let's start to get a little bit of dimension now into this waterfall. First, while I got the color in my brush, let's go ahead and take care of rock number 2. I'm glad I have... all right, I think I'm stepping into a conversation there. It's all right. If you got a question, by the way, QQQ, like Tamara has done, have you checked the cameras? Yes, I have, Tamara. Thank you very much. They're still recording. I sculpted a scroll design around a painting in progress, layered the design, and then gilded it. Amazing, Heidi. That's awesome. Sounds awesome. Okay. The shadow looks like a map of Australia. Dude, I see it. There's the Australian Bight right there. There's a Gulf of Carpentaria. There's WA. Oh, Sydney. There you go. How you going, Sydney? Melbourne. How are ya? Shout out to Brizzy, Cairns. I see it. I totally see it. Unintentional, but I see it too. Hey, listen. You must be on the Academy as well. Every week, somebody tells me I've hidden Barney the dinosaur, a freaking gorilla, a giraffe, big bird, or something in one of my paintings. It's a dog. It's a plane. Drives me mental. I think there must be something going on in my brain subconsciously where I have to find like the Muppet Show in these shapes. What's going on? I don't know. What's that say about me? At least they're for the most part Muppets and characters and nothing too dangerous. It's a kid's show. Oh, there you go, Jack Woodward. Shout out to Newcastle. All right. Now, I'm hitting a wallaby and a turtle for sure, and a couple of kangaroos there, brother. All right. It only took an hour and a half for this conversation to happen. There you go, Nikki. Nikki set a timer on it. She's like, I'm waiting until Barney shows up. All right, we got a little bit of gray. knock in some of that stuff real quick. Let's get it in there quick. Hey, look, for everybody watching right now, you're hanging on for the slow process. I like that. I admire that. That's great. You're not one of these people that is the drive-through painter looking for your happy meal of painting inspiration and then moving on quickly. I think you and I are kindred spirits. We're hanging in for the long haul. We're building these things up slow. Our work takes time because, you know, our vision deserves it. We've thought about this thing. We planned this thing. We've been dreaming about this thing. And now it comes time to see it through. You got to put time in on the thing. Am I right? Yeah, I thought so. So I thank you for being here in the studio with me. And I'm looking forward to sharing more information with you in tomorrow's live stream on the Academy. If you are one of those future people, and I love me some future people, then you can tune in to the replay on the Academy at any time. That library is available to you, to my Academy VIP tier. And you can watch the replay. And I will keep the replay of this live stream. Doesn't seem to be any major technical glitches, which is nice. But I'll keep this replay available here on my channel so you can come back and tune in again. So if you're worried about missing tomorrow's live stream, so tomorrow is Friday, the 25th of July here in New Zealand. It's already the 24th, Thursday here in New Zealand. You're like, wait, hang on a second, it's Wednesday, 23rd. Yeah, but we're a day ahead in New Zealand. We're number one. Don't get it twisted. But it would be a pleasure to join you in the studio, have your company tomorrow. That'd be awesome. And again, if you want to take your painting further, check out Tish Academy, top link in the description down below. If you want to check out tomorrow's live stream, you can do so for free by subscribing to my mailing list. That is a second link in the description down below. Mixed up a little bit of blue here. And I love what I love. I'm going to tell you what I love. Here's what I love. Look at that reference material. I love how objects interact with one another in the environment. What am I talking about? Well, you got rocks, you got water, but you have this thing that ties it together, which is the light. And I love the way the light interacts with the form, and it just helps unify everything within the image. Now, I don't know about you, but I get excited about a cast shadow like this. This shadow being cast by the rock, the way it just skips across the surface of that waterfall as it's spilling over the edge there, picking up the texture of that fragmented and broken water. That's cool. That's cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off script. So my reference material there, left-hand edge, bottom image, and my color study, even my color study, which I'm following the color study compositionally a little bit closer than my reference. But the reference is giving me indication of light, texture, color, all that sort of good stuff. The dynamics of water, dynamics of light, reflected light. It's good info in there. Really good info. But I'm going to go off script. As I go off script and start shifting stuff around, I'm going to need to pay attention to how that light interacts with everything in the painting. But once you get to a point with your painting journey and you get some of that technical stuff out of the way so that it becomes second nature, the thing that excites me is like, okay, well, now where do I want to go? And so you get to do things like open up this water in the foreground and so down in the foreground, you can't see it right now, but the water in the foreground and create ripples and reflections and movement and refraction and distortion and all that cool stuff. And I'm literally right now in the process of filming my course on how to paint clear water. I'm doing it while I'm painting trees as well. It's good fun. We got a lot of demos coming. Aren't you? Isn't it way too bluish? Aren't you? Quit giving away my punchlines. I love how eager and keen you are, though. I absolutely love it. Top marks for that. I got a half an hour left. My favorite song from the 90s, I'm Blue. Now that's going to be stuck in your head all day. You're welcome. Excuse me. Forgot to mute that time. I'm going to mute this time. I have a little coughing fit. Hang on. I tell you what, blooming kindergartners in their lurgies. So my son is 3.5. He's my pride and joy. I love that boy. My goodness. But tell you what, if toddlers don't just pick up stuff that is just utterly devastating. He came back home after a day and a half. It was like a shock and awe campaign. Just wiped out the family. I didn't realize that kindergartners just far out. They're on another level. So I thank you for sticking with me through my hoarse voiceover here of this demonstration. Antya, I was painting the shadows first. I know it was looking bluish, but now is the blue. You see a little bit of context. Now, Antya, check out, and whoever else, check out the images over there on the left. You see in the reference material? There's a little bit of blue coming through in that. Yeah, it's my shadow. So I'm now going to start working with some of that white water. And I got a rule. If we're painting the ocean, if we're painting a cascade like this, if we're painting anything with white water is not white. Repeat after me. White water is not white. You're not repeating it. White water is not white. Right? Got it? Okay, good. Why? We need to make a conscious choice to make darker colors, darker tones, shift that value range down, because one thing I'm trying to do, and I'm imagining you're trying to do this too, if you're here, you like traditional realism, right? If you're one of those weird banana tape into the wall type of people, well then, hey, I hope we managed to convert you. But I'm guessing you like to paint stuff and you want to try and make it look real. Cool. The best way to do that and create a convincing sense of light is to hold back with your tonal range. Start with some darks, mixing a range of grays, and work your way up towards light. White water's not white. There you go, Lori. White water is not white. There you go. You got it. Okay. Oh, Ruthie, absolutely. Absolutely. They like, I don't know, whatever the equivalent of the Nobel Peace Prize for kindergarten teachers. Yeah, absolutely. They need that. They need that. They must have the most amazing immune systems. Mind you, they've been exposed to everything. I was calling my friends going, is this freaking normal? Is this normal? And so earlier this week, I was feeling okay. And then, I told Jim, I'm like, Jim, you schedule us some live streams. We got to get Thursday and Friday scheduled. I was feeling fine. And then it hit me. I'm like, oh no. So, yeah. Again. Yeah, it's normal, says Kathleen. There you go. Don't mention bananas or zinc. Yeah, those are my two triggers there, Marlies. All right. Oh, Shell says CD3 and zinc every day. So not zinc in my paint. Gotcha. But you take the zinc. Cool. Well, I got a tube of zinc white that I failed to throw away, so I might start chewing on that. Is that okay? Okay. What age did I start painting seriously? That's a great question, Gotex. So I started when I was young. I was raised by an artist, but my father was a sculptor. My mother was a painter, but she left when I was 2. So my dad, he kind of trained me in traditional techniques for the most part. He did the best he could, but he's a sculptor. So I really started to take it up seriously when I was about 17. I went pro when I was 21. And when I say went pro, full-time painting, no supplemental alternative income, just painting. And I came up in a time that was pretty thriving time over in WA in Western Australia. My academy folks know my story because I share the whole friggin' tale over there on the academy, and that maybe if I point out where the big piles of dog turd are on the path of life, maybe I can stop some other young folks from standing in it, or people that are a little further along in their journey. But I learned some lessons. I learned some hard lessons, but it was good. I'm grateful for every one of them. But I started when I was 21, and now I'm in my 40s. So it's been going now for over 20 years. Well, it's a different experience. It's a different experience, isn't it? Portrait account. So that's okay. Go ahead and click off. You're all good. Um, yes, I did, Libby. It's all. Yep. I did. I did. I basically I I got a fine arts degree, so I am qualified because I have a piece of paper to have the opinions I have. I'm totally qualified. And it makes my vocabulary a little bit better when it comes to snobby art terms. And I sound interesting at dinner parties as a result of my arts degree. I have my arts degree hanging framed above my lavatory. And I'm reminded every time I go in there that I'm okay. I'm being derogatory now, but that I'm making an installation. But anyway, suffice to say, yes, I have an arts qualification. I got a degree in fine art. No, you don't need it. No, you don't. Yes, it's an epic waste of money and time. So I look back on that and I shake my head going, what on earth was I thinking? Grateful for the experience. Now I know. So what I should have done is I should have gone to an atelier, an art school that taught technique. But I went to one of those institutions where the students are taping bananas to walls. You know the kind. So I don't recommend it. If you can find an atelier, and there's a lot coming up now, do it. Find a good one. But this is exactly what I've built online. It's exactly what I built online. So you can do it from wherever you are, because maybe you're like me and you were in Perth, Western Australia. At the time, that's where I was living. I now live in New Zealand. But I was over there in Perth in Western Australia, and I didn't have access to that because it wasn't around. No one was doing it. No one over there was painting traditional realism. They were doing the best they could, painting from reference photos. Yeah, I like a bit of that. I'm doing that. But nobody was doing the traditional techniques, and I wanted to see old masters, and I wanted that Heidelberg stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I heard about Florence Academy and various things, but I couldn't get over there. I didn't have the means. I didn't have the courage either. I was young. I didn't want to travel on my own. And so I did what I could. Went to art school thinking they'd teach me how to paint. I was warned they're not going to do it, but I didn't listen. I thought, no, this is going to make me a better artist, and it didn't. Yeah, there you go, Ron Knowlton. I love Heidelberg, absolutely. Rhiannon, Heidelberg all the way. I love me some Tom Roberts, some Arthur Streeton, some Frederick McCubbin, and a little bit later, not part of the school, but Hans Heisen. Are you kidding me? Those guys, they had it going on. It was amazing. Hour and 40 into the stream. I got 20 minutes to go. Really enjoyed your company so far. Thank you very much for hanging out and asking so many great questions and such great comments and feedback. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for suffering through with me while I nurse this cold. It's annoying, but the show must go on. Hopefully Antje and others can see now the reason for the blue in here. Very simple colors. You know, for the most part, my mixes of colors are that white, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber. Like, I'm using that over and over and over again. It's where I started my painting journey. But I just keep coming back to those combos again and again and again. Even with these simplified shapes, I want to feel how that water spreads out, splits, wraps around these forms, these big boulder forms. And I'm starting to get some indication of that. I hope you are too. It's coming through for me. I don't know if it's translating or coming through that camera. I hope it is. But if it is, hit the like button for me. Now, I said this before. Maybe you're just tuning in now. Maybe you missed it. But a painting of this scale, this is the 36 by 48 canvas. A painting of this scale would take me around anywhere, I said 400 hours, anywhere from 100 to maybe 300 hours, depending on the level of detail. This is going to have a lot of detail. But it's quite a process. Yeah, thank you. Me too, Lynn. Yeah, it's not like me, huh? Ashley says she'll use her crown for good. Good. With great crown comes great responsibility, Ashley. So use it wisely. Yeah, I didn't know about that one, Anne Green. Brilliant. I'm glad to hear that. That sounds cool. Is it still running? We got a question. I add neutral gray to aid my color mixing and value control over using the opposite color. That's an interesting idea. Are there any long-term problems with it? No, I don't think so. If it's working for you, go for it. You know, I get around a lot of these issues with paint, with my approach to materials, not just in terms of color, but my approach to materials. I mean, there are colors that are problematic, zinc being one, alizarin being another. However, with layering, what I want to see is I want to see some good adhesion between my layers. So I want to make sure that one layer is going to stick to another. If they don't, you end up with cracking, crawling, crazing, shifting across the surface, delamination. It can be disastrous. So as long as every layer has a little bit of that liquid original in it. Now, some people don't like that. They say it's got a little bit too much of a fume. I hear you. It is a little on the nose. However, it's an incredibly convenient medium to use. Not a sponsor, just have used it for years. At this rate, though, they bloody should be, shouldn't they? Does anybody here know Mr. Winsor Newton? Excuse me. Right. So you can see lot 222, how it's hopefully how it's shaping up. But, you know, the colors aren't bang on. What I'm going for is just a relationship, right? So I can absolutely, you know, is that pure white? Well, no. Let's adjust the ISO on this camera here and see if we can. Is this going to do it? See if we can get a little darker. And you'll see on the palette that it's actually not pure white. You know, it's a gray. So I'm knocking it back with a little bit of burnt umber there and a little bit of ultramarine blue. Anything wrong with using no medium? No, absolutely not, Raphael. No, I mean, there's a lot of artists that use no medium, paint straight out of the tube. That's all good. You know, a lot of people prefer that. You just want to make sure that if you're going to do that, if you're going to add anything like a linseed oil or whatever, then you're adhering to a fat on lean principle. So fat on lean. So the idea being is that your lower layers are leaner, so less medium. And then as you add and start layering over that, you're fattening up your paint by adding medium to it. So fat on lean. But no, nothing wrong with using just pure unadulterated, just gorgeous oil paint. That's fine. But I like this to dry because tomorrow I want to start layering in some details. I wish you could see what I'm seeing out the window right now. The sun is rising. It's streaming into the studio. It's gorgeous. And the cloud is just hanging in the valley, and I'm looking at the snow-capped mountains. Oh, it's beautiful here. Oh my goodness. It's too much. No, HK, I would throw it away. I think your liquid is dead. If it's done that in the bottle, I think it's time for a new bottle. If you're buying like big bottles like me, if you don't go through it very quickly, it might be an idea to decant it into something smaller. You just want to really just decant it into small. Just avoid that air contact. Rachel LeChat, I have not seen you in ages. Welcome. Good morning. Wow, good to have you back. Where did you go? Goodness, welcome back. Do you clean your brush heads between each new paint? No. So I've got a whole bunch of brushes on the go. I've got 4. I got two in my microphone hand here, and 2 here. And so for the most part, I'm keeping a color per brush. However, with the water, the blue and the white, I've been using this dagger. And as you can see, we're going pretty quick through here. Missed you too, Rachel. Missed you too. Jam jar, okay for storing liquid and keeping it alive. Potentially Marley's, but you want to lower the surface area across that opening if you can. But yeah, that'll totally work. Just whatever kind of container is going to limit air exposure. Man, time's fun when the paint's slinging, or something like that, however that saying goes. Now I've got a pretty dark shape here. I'm going to establish that, and then we're going to move on to a little bit of this water in the foreground. Hope you're enjoying it so far. If you are, then go ahead and hit that like button for me. Go on, help it get out there to more people. Now, a couple of comments from people. I get it. It's like, oh, I prefer the tutorial. I get it. You know, but these live streams, they're fun for me. I hope they are for you, at least some of you anyway, because it gives us a chance to chop it up and hang out live and get those questions answered. That's important. But of course, I do lots of the full edited demonstrations over there on Tish Academy. So again, last plug. Promise. Although I might be lying. But click that link in the description down below. Get a 7-day free trial on Tish Academy. But also, if you subscribe to the mailing list, the second link down there, you'll get to watch tomorrow's live stream where we're going to carry on with this painting and start layering in some modeling. You'll get to tune into that. I will email you the link. Just subscribe to that email list there, and I'll send you the link. Excuse me, that came out of nowhere. Is there an experimental time in the Academy, and is it possible to interact with other members? Yes, there is. I'm not sure what you mean by experimental, but you can get as experimental as you like, Christina. But there is definitely, that's the best part of the Academy, is chopping it up with other members. That's the best part. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. It's something I love about it. And look, there's over 3,000 of us in there now, which is awesome. Does varnish go bad? It depends what kind of varnish, Libby. I found that varnish is like a retouch, which is ketone resin in some sort of spirit, sometimes white spirit, some sort of solvent. That tends not to dry over or go bad as such. That works pretty good. So I think some though can go off. But for the most part, the solvent seems to preserve it and keep everything kind of liquefied, as long as it's not evaporating in the container, so you don't have too much air in there. As the Aussies would say, she'll be right, mate. All right. I'm going to get a little bit of that green whitewater here, and we'll close this out. Get a paint on my knees again. The canvas is like literally too big for the studio. Like literally too big for the studio. So rather than move the painting, I'll just go ahead and move. So for this green, I'm going to use a little bit of the phthalo green, a little bit of phthalo blue, a little bit of cobalt teal, a little bit of white, a little bit of Naples yellow deep. I'm just going for a nice muted green. I'm going to add to this green sometime in the future, but that phthalo is quite strong. And we'll just start adding it up under here. Let me just make sure that I'm still recording over here. Hey, I'm going to have to put this down and adjust this camera. 1 second. Right. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, I just did, Tamara. Yeah, I just realized it stopped recording. So I'm on it now. So wherever we have a window in this whitewater, got this beautiful bottle green quality showing through. One thing I really love about this type of painting and this scenario is the shift in perspective. We've got multiple planes that we're looking on. It's not just happening on one plane. You've got the plane of the water here. You've got a slightly stepped down plane in this little triangle here, because there's like a scoop that's taken out and that level's dropped. You're looking kind of at this plane roughly at eye level. So you're just sighting across it. And then you're just seeing a series of lips here that catch the light, because that's a little bit higher than our vantage point. So I like how that plane, it splits and then it drops as it comes down forward towards us. That's going to be fun. A little bit of a challenge in terms of perspective, but something I'm looking forward to immensely. Just thought I'd share that with you. Now, in last week's live stream, when we were painting water on the Academy, we were talking about that, about perspective and how linear perspective plays a role with water. I'm going to indicate to myself just a couple of little gaps here in my water in the foreground, and I'm going to paint between those areas. Some rocks, some boulders. That's going to be fun. A little more transparent yellow oxide, a little bit more white coming through, so slightly lighter. Yes, I do. Artist Deborah Rubbs. Yes, I do. QQQ. Okay, from Raul. Do you use an imprimatur for all your painting, but your palette is gray? Any reason why you don't paint it the same as the canvas or the boards? That's such a good question. That's a really good question. Right. Regardless, it's about relationships, right? It's about how one color is relative to another. So over here, doesn't it look silly? Like you're just seeing like a severed head talk to you there in the bottom left. I'll just, for the rest of this live stream, I'll just move it down like that so you see me. If you wanted to see me. Some people like to see me. Some people really don't. That's okay. But what I want to do is I want to see and gauge the tone and the temperature, and a neutral gray behind the glass palette really helps me do that. However, over here with the Imprimatura, that extra warmth really helps me with providing a unifying color arrangement. That warm shows up throughout and ties everything together, but it also helps with the overall vibrancy of those colors. Now, the old masters painted with earth tones beneath their first layer of paint, and you could see it shown through in places. Constable used a really rich sienna color. I saw a Constable that was unfinished. There was a row of trees, and I thought that was the most garish bunch of autumn trees, and I just didn't understand it. And then I was like, oh, no way. That's the color underneath that's showing through. I was like, far out. And so I just started using that technique from then on out. So could you paint over gray? Sure. Could you mix color over sienna? Sure, I guess. You know, when you're painting using a raw wood palette, that's fun too. It's sometimes, depending on the type of wood that you're using, a nice warm brown that you're painting over. And that's fine. Like I've seen some palettes that artists use that are very rich reddish wood. You kind of get used to it though. So I like this because also it helps that relationship show up when I'm filming my demonstrations. It really helps you see what colors are being used, when and how. And hopefully it helps you see those relationships a little bit more. I have a glass palette, but with a white background. Is that bad or does it not matter? So what will happen is you'll probably end up mixing color that is, oh, dare I say, if you're compensating for the white, I think it might be tonally a little bit blown out, a little bit too bright there, Marlies. I might be getting that opposite mixed up. My brain's not braining right now. You have to forgive me, but one or the other. It'll either be too white or too dark. So you want to basically have something that is a mid-tone, because it'll help you perceive values at the ready a little bit quicker if it's a mid-tone. So I'll be able to gauge my deeper values and some of my lighter values a little bit easier, because the white shows up against the gray and the dark shows up against that gray. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Too bright. Yeah, I got the sun reflecting in here. Oh, but you're probably talking about the thing. Doing research. There you go, says Gary. It's really beautiful. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate it. So this is good fun. Thanks for hanging out with me here in the studio. How far into it are we? My Tish Academy OGs never tell me when the live stream is going to end, because they just like, no, we just want to keep the show going, and I appreciate that so much. But I got things to do today, like go and have an epic coughing fit. That's going to be fun. Somebody's got to do it, so I'm going to do that. And that's what I got planned today. I'm probably going to work a little more on this waterfall. I can't help it. The water painting from last week's live stream for my Tish Academy folks, I've been filming all the last week, and I'm nearly done with that painting. So excited about that. So I'll share with you where I'm up to on that. But can I just say thank you for being here in the studio with me. Thank you for joining me live. If you haven't clicked that like button already, do so. To my Tish Academy folks who have tuned in today, thank you. I will see you tomorrow. Click that subscribe button, and I'll blast out an email tomorrow or tonight, and I'll give you a link to watch tomorrow's live stream. You can see that exclusively. But I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you next time. Thank you for so many wonderful questions. Thank you for hanging out with me. Appreciate that. I'm down there in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm just going to wave at you. And yeah, it's been cool, hasn't it, Rhiannon? That's awesome. And so hopefully you can see how we started this painting. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. Should we zoom out before we cut it short? Should we just zoom out and have a quick look and see how far we can get back from this thing. I think that's about as far as we can go, but I'll tilt it up and down and show you. There you go. Literally too big for my little home studio at the moment, but very soon I'll be coming to you from the new big studio. We'll do some more live streams there, but I'll see all my Academy folks tomorrow. In the meantime, bless you, happy painting, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for tuning in.